Okay, my friends, so here we are heading back up to Lakewood, and we are in the company of Yvonne and Ralph. This morning we were having a little discussion there, and Ralph brought up something about the blueprint for marriage, and sometimes, what did you say, Ralph, that some people can't get rid of the blueprint?
Well, I was saying that sometimes I'm asked to say something about marriage at a wedding when people just first get married and they ask me to say something. And one of the things I say is that for both of them to throw away the blueprint, because it seems like we are inclined, the man and the woman, to feel like we can change the other person, and when in reality we can only change ourselves. And if you don't like the person who you find, you're not going to like the person who you find in marriage. And so it's better to put on the magnifying glasses before you get married, and then you can put on the sunglasses when you get married. But people tend to do it in reverse.
Okay.
So, and another thing I like to tell people is that I've seen people that they give up on their marriages too soon, and after they leave and separate, and then they get married to someone else, and they're right back where they started in the second marriage, they realize that they could have stayed in their first marriage by just learning how to resolve problems. And you know, so that those seem to be some of the things that help a marriage to continue. And we've been married for 52 and a half years.
Oh, great.
And,
Congratulations.
yes, thank you. So I believe those are some of the things that we've tried to implement into our own marriage. And it seems to work for us.
Very good.
I would like to know who gets the medal. That's a good one.
You,
Two
honey.
medals.
You, honey, that's another thing I've learned.
Yes, darling. Yes,
darling. When you forget her name, just say, yes, darling.
That's good. So you have enjoyed your married life, Yvonne?
Yes, we have rolled with the punches, with the ups and the downs. But we know we always felt this is for life. And so the thought was, how do we resolve? How do we move on? How do we deal with this? How do we get over this? God has been very good, and his hand is so clear as we look backward.
That's right.
Way back when we didn't know he had a part in this, bringing us together. And we are really fortunate and have deep gratitude in our hearts, and we just want to keep true to every vow we have made, naturally, spiritually, and otherwise. Because some days we don't know why, we just feel down, or whatever the case might be, something kind of just distresses us, and we're not our best selves. But patience with each other, and we know deep down there's love, so we build again and get back to that good place.
Very good, very good.
That's right.
So would you say that Ralph has changed in any way before when you met him to this present day?
No.
Because it's important, you know, in our thinking, that a person be themselves,
Yes.
not be somebody false,
No.
so that when you go into marriage, you have telegraphed, in other words,
That's right.
what you are, who you are,
Yes.
your expectations, your likes and dislikes, you know.
I think that is one of the blessings, that we were so honest with each other. We were very open about our likes and dislikes and our taste and our dreams and our hopes. And I mean, you could hardly sit down and say, well, we think we're going to get married, but it's like we developed a friendship and a closeness, and things just led where they led, you know. We got married.
What about the family influence? You would prescribe that the person who's getting married must have a relationship with your family.
Yes, that was very important to me. When I met Ralph, I was 17, and you were 19, right?
Correct.
So I was young, but I think I had a good head on my shoulder, and I said in my heart, well, I definitely like him, but I really want him to love my family and fit into my family. I have a lovely, warm, caring family. I didn't want him to be a misfit. And so I just quietly observed him whenever he visited among my family. And I remember us going to convention, and my younger sister and I, Paulette, we were very close. And I observed him again. I don't think he had a clue he was being scrutinized.
Oh, yes, I did.
Oh, you did, huh? You recognized that you were scrutinized?
I recognized it, but it came so natural because Paulette, for sure, was such an easy person to like, and then each one of her sisters I found very easy to like. So there was no pretense.
Very
And
good.
so it came very natural.
And mom and dad welcomed him. He
That's
became
right.
another son. My sisters always say, you're not a brother-in-law, you're a brother.
That's right.
That's good.
So that was a very good thing, and I felt like it was a good fit. And I think that there is a thing called perception, and if it's something you can hardly explain, but sometimes there's just something within you telling you this feels right, and it is right, and we're glad it was not. Sometimes voices cannot always tell you the right thing, but I think it was a good voice, and we think we know where that came from.
That's
From
right.
heaven.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Marriage was made in heaven.
Yes,
tell you.
yes, and so
For us to have gotten married so young was quite a thing.
Yes.
For a 18-year-old and 20-year-old fella, there was a lot of pitfalls that we could have landed up in,
Yeah.
because even more mature people, older people, realized that they weren't ready for marriage. And I remember when the Justice of the Peace
in Jamaica.
when we said our vows, and he looked at us and he says, you know, when I say all these things for them to repeat, and then they're finally married, he says, sometimes I see a look of concern on the new couple's face, like, what have I done? And I sort of, I hope I did the right thing. But he says some others, when I look at them, they seem like I know I did the right thing, and they look so settled and ready for marriage. And he says these two fit that description.
That was very good.
So we felt happy about that.
Yes, and his observation came true.
Absolutely, absolutely.
You know, some time ago in Trinidad, a young man, some months ago, maybe more than a year perhaps, he called me to say that, he so long that his marriage would work, but there's a problem with his mother. His mother doesn't seem to like the girl's family, doesn't seem to like, the wife herself, and he was wondering what to do, and his mother is kind of keeping them at a distance.
Yeah.
So I suggested maybe you could write a letter and explain to the mother that, the wife loves you and the in-laws, they love you. But it's difficult to really get along when in-laws are up in arms against you,
Yes, when in-laws are outlaws.
when in-laws become outlaws, you see. So I felt sorry for him, and he called some time ago, and he said, you know, he had made an approach to see if they could reconcile, but the relative does not want any part. I told him he felt like a failure, he said, and I said, no, you did not fail. The person failed to accept your effort at reconciliation. And once you took the advice, you went forward and you tried. I hope when I go back to Trinidad I can visit his family, and
Yes.
I feel the sincerity of the young man.
Right.
You know, he really wants his marriage to work, and especially when there are children involved,
Oh,
Sure, of course,
absolutely.
of course.
because children suffer a lot
They sure do.
in events that that are harsh.
Yes.
Yes.
Well, one of the things when I met Yvonne, the first night I met her, we were with two other young ladies, Barbara and Norma Hayden, and we were up till 2 o'clock talking. And then the second night, we were up to 2 o'clock talking. And what we didn't even realize is we were discussing things like what meant the most to us, how our approach was to raising children. I know that was very important to me. I love children, but I don't like to see children who are spoiled. And my mother had a gift of disciplining me and my other brothers and still show love. And so I was looking for someone who would have that same balance of showing love to children, but also knowing how to not spoil them, that when you think they're so cute, and then after that no one else likes them.
Okay, can I just interrupt a bit?
Sure.
What is your perception of being spoiled, of spoiling children?
My perception of spoiling children is, I'll give you an example. I saw a little child just the other day. He's 3 years old. And a certain look, he didn't get what he wanted. And an expression came on his face. And he went over and he hit his dad.
Oh no.
And his dad just laughed
An embarrassment.
and
Possibly, most likely.
you know, didn't really seem to think it very important. But the mom, she took him by the hand and she led him outside, and she administered some vitamin beaten. And I believe that was quite appropriate. She didn't abuse him, but she let him know that that was way out of line. And I think even the hitting the father, but if I saw the expression on that little boy's face. So you're doing your children a favor when you can show them the proper discipline. And I'm not saying that even I've seen couples who do not necessarily use corporal punishment, but who have the ability to discipline their children without even licks. They take them aside, and they can. Some children you can do that with, and
Is
you
there,
can
is
reason.
there not a law now that protects children from I mean, like I believe in England it obtains. You know, you can't hit a child. A child can go to school and report that they have been, you know.
That is very true. But I don't know how that would work with me if I was bringing up children again, because the same police that comes for you and tell you to hit your child is the same police that comes for you when your child breaks the law
Exactly.
and can't behave themselves.
Exactly.
So I'd rather them come for me and tell me you can't do that than him come to me and tell me I'm taking your child to jail. So,
Exactly.
and of course you have to fit into what the laws are. And so now you would have to gear your approach more to disciplining a child without the physical contact, which is fine.
Say what you mean and mean what you say.
Say what you mean what you say,
limits.
but you don't let things like what I had just gave you an example of. You don't let that moment pass.
I'll tell you, when I saw what was happening, it was hard for me not to say anything. And I thought in my heart, if in fact he didn't believe in hitting, or maybe something happened in his life that he thought hitting is never appropriate, I think he could have grabbed those two little hands. That's what I
Say never.
and
do
said,
that
"Don't
again.
you ever!"
Never.
And you meet
Yes.
eye to eye, and you mean it.
That's right. That's right.
So do you think that West Indians, as the old way we were brought up when dad would, administer some punishment, it doesn't obtain like that in the States, does it? The old, you remember what it was like in your country. How does that compare to a person leaving the West Indies, coming here now and have to be restrained
Yes.
by these laws?
Well, I have heard jokes about parents who said, "Okay, we're going to take a trip."
So you hear that noise?
I
don't-
have heard that. I know.
Okay, we're going to take a trip and fix you good and proper, right?
Yes.
But on a more serious note, since getting older, I realize, and I've seen people do it successfully.
Yes.
A little child, their reasoning power is limited. But if you say no and you make sure
No
that
is
your no doesn't become a yes,
Mm.
and they know your no is going to remain no, or your yes is yes, and somehow children can pick up on the seriousness of your tone. It doesn't have to be a scream,
That's right.
and they can seem to learn. It's amazing. I've seen some children now. I don't know that applies, because we all have different personalities, and some are bent on difficult. Our son was very hyperactive, so he got into stuff just from being a busy bee. Things would break and he would fall and hit here, and there was a time when his lip could barely heal. Just very active, and we recognized that. It wasn't, I wouldn't have labeled it rudeness or
That's right.
disrespect, but as he got a little older, he would learn how to control himself a little better. Then you can reason with them at different ages, at different levels, and I certainly don't feel like I have been any expert at raising children, but thankfully they're loving kids and they're good to us, and we're very grateful.
But the
for
other
that.
thing I could interject there is when we were living in Miami and my mom was visiting from New York, the kids were very young, which was one of the things that I kind of discussed with that first 2 nights. And that is if I discipline one of my children, my mom commented, she says, "You know what I like about the two of you? If one say kill, the other one says bury."
Mhm. Well,
So-
you have saved me that question, so I'm glad you're answering it.
Okay, because
Mhm.
a lot of children like to, manipulate their parents And when they don't get the answer they want from one, they go to the other.
Yep.
And they play each other.
They learn that trick pretty
They learn-
soon.
That seems to come naturally. They don't need to go to school to figure that out. So, you know, so we were always united in
Yes.
our approach.
If there was something we disagreed on, the kids had no clue.
That's right.
That was a very quiet discussion away from the kids' ears.
right.
That's right.
You know,
You mean you didn't always agree with me?
Yvonne,
Yes.
one of the things that Lance and I, in our marriage, we would fall out over the children,
Yes.
particularly Lasana.
Yes.
Lance would be very concerned about him going to school, and he not wanting to go to school, and sometimes I would take the easy way out and keep him at home, leave him home, because this morning I'm too stressed out to handle this. And that's when we will disagree. And Lance would insist that we will discuss that. Do not side with Lasana.
Not at all.
We have to do this together, support each other, because if we disagree, children learn to rule and divide and rule.
Absolutely.
Yeah, from very early.
Pick right on that.
Yeah, so
Take it up a notch.
I'm glad that you all share that same view,
Yes.
you know, and I must say that 52 years married, we have the same type of experience, and we seem to have rid the same wave,
Yes.
Yes.
you know, and it has been successful marriage. Both of you are very happy, like ourselves, and we have to thank God for that. But there are some things you learn along the way in marriage.
Definitely.
No textbook can teach you these things,
No.
but from experience. So we are really glad to share experience and thoughts together in this marriage, you know.
I want to ask a question again. Did you find it easier to bring up girls? You have daughters, of course. You have a daughter, right?
You
That's
have a
correct.
daughter?
Right. Was it easier to girls? What's the question, Louise? Are girls easier to rear than boys? In your opinion?
Well, at different
Experience.
stages.
Uh-huh.
Definitely, our daughter, from the early years quite up to, I say, teenager, kind of, was very, very compliant and sweet and very considerate. Like I said, our son was more full of energy and just jumping and doing stuff and all of that, but also very loving, sweet child. But as our daughter got older and a little rebellion against the rules of the home in her heart, well, her desire, she was old enough at this time, was just to take a break from mom and dad, and went away from home. And it was good, because I think what she has said it, whatever experiences she had, she used to joke, she left our home and went to another sister. And she said at one point, she thought, oh my goodness, I left mom for another mom.
Oh my.
But sometimes that's also a good thing, as they try to spread their wings, that they go out there and get the experience. She was going to school and all of that, and so that was a very necessary period, and nothing at all wrong with that. We all find ourselves in different ways. And our son took a little bit longer, and the same thing, he was able to navigate and feed and whatever, and kind of find himself and wherever he wanted to go in life. And so I guess I feel that the foundation of those early years is very crucial. And I've always felt gratitude in my heart when I hear of stories of children that didn't have a good loving home life, and somehow miraculously they were able to navigate and find a way to just better themselves and move on in a natural way, you know.
Yes.
So
That's
we're
good.
just grateful.
Now, I want to talk about a little thing that I have in my mind. I want to go home and I want to get some jerseys printed. And I want to have written on the back of one jersey, marriage works. And the other jersey will say, I love, with the heart, I love my marriage. How do you think that's going to go down?
Oh, I think that's a great idea because marriage seems to be going out of style, or people are approaching marriage the way people used to approach having a boyfriend or a girlfriend. And they're saying these vows about for better or for worse, and they don't seem to be able to handle when it gets too good or when it gets too bad. Either one. When one of them gets too successful, the other one seems to have a problem. When they're not successful enough, there seems to be a problem.
So are you saying that there is very often jealousy in marriage as regards the progress of another? Of a partner? A wife, husband?
I'm not sure if the word is jealousy. Some people just can't handle change. And the one person seeming to have too much success might also indicate that they may be spending too much time away from the home. Sometimes when things are going bad is when they're also spending too much time away from the home trying to make ends meet. I think that's a big problem in marriage. Marriage is meant for two people to spend time with their families, and the way things are in life now, it's become very difficult for people to have a job and not neglect their time together with their family, because sometimes one is working in the day and one is working in the night, and the family suffers. So that's my take on that.
Okay. Well, I want to thank you very much for your 52 years of marriage. It has added to our experience. We're almost sharing the same amount of years, right, Louise?
That's right. That's right.
And we seem to have the same joy.
Same happiness.
Yes,
That's right.
and we're heading in the same direction today. So thank you very much again, Ralph and Yvonne, and for putting up with us.
Oh, not at all. No putting up. Enjoyed every
We
minute of you
enjoyed-
both.
I
Okay.
can say that with every bit of sincerity.
Louise, you want to say something to close?
Well, I would like to say it was a wonderful pleasure to be with Yvonne and Ralph
And Dick and Ruth
Dilk and Ruth,
and Paulette.
who have also been married for many years. How many years they are married?
I think they're married
50 years.
Yes, they are.
So
they
we
just
had-
hit the 50-year mark.
So we had a weekend together, 3 couples, 50 years and 52 years, 52 years. So it was wonderful sharing our experience, seeing how each other relate to each other, learning from each other, because when you are together and having the same interests, you can learn from each other. You can recognize, well, maybe if I do this in my marriage, it's going to enhance it, because you never ever learn everything. So you draw from each other's strengths and even weaknesses to know that, well, I do this, but maybe it'd be a good thing not to do that. So it was just wonderful. Yvonne and Ralph, we met them just 4 years ago, and we spent some time together in Trinidad, and now we spend the weekend with them. And it's like we feel we knew each other all our lives.
All honest.
Very true.
And that is because we are very similar in our thinking,
And in our
yet
faith.
different, you know. So thank you, Yvonne and Ralph, very much. And also for the effort that Ruth and also Paulette. It was great having Paulette as a good balancing force among 3 married couples. So that was really wonderful. And we really hope that we can meet again, not after 4 years.
So let me ask one question before I close, Louise. If I get these jerseys printed, I love my marriage and marriage works, will you be willing to walk around, go to the supermarket, walk around the town with it? Or you feel that you're going to get a little scolding on people? Are you afraid of that, or you're going to declare openly?
I am proud.
Yeah, bro. Hey, Ralph, can I send you one of those jerseys sometime?
You better believe.
I
Yvonne?
wonder if we have a size.
Don't worry.
Absolutely.
We will get one.
Huh? What did you say?
You didn't hear that, right?
You'll have to get it in extra.
If not, I got a solution.
They might run out of material.
Oh, the other thing you have to put down at the bottom, wink, wink. Just kidding.